Welcome to Buckets. My name is Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network, joined by professional bettor Raheem Palmer. This is our Wednesday workshop episode. On Workshop Wednesdays, we take the Wednesday slate when it first comes out. Raheem runs his model. We break it down. We tear these games apart, and we find where the value is for you. Want to remind you that if you're betting on absolutely anything this season, NBA, college basketball just started, anything, you want to be tracking it in the Action Network app. The absolute best way to track your picks, get up to the second information on where the money is, where the bets are, where the value is, where the sharps are moving things, where the line is moved from and to, all of that plus our analysis. You can track Raheem's picks in the app as well. You also want to check out all the great podcasts we have on Action Network, including Big Bets on Campus. With college basketball starting, you're going to want to check out Big Bets on Campus for their college basketball coverage. Get the monster when it comes to college basketball. Also, you can check out The Favorites with Chad Millman and Simon Hunter. That'll give you a great look at the NFL slate. And if you want more NFL, check out the Action Network podcast. Brandon and Raheem are on Mondays and Fridays. They have a bonus episode this week. And Chris Raybon Stuckey give you the Sunday Six Pack, which is my absolute favorite NFL podcast of the week. Check that out on the Action Network podcast. All right, Raheem. Every week we do 3 bets. Now, last week, you and I on Tuesday, we went through a whole thing and we're like, okay, so unders have been crazy, but let's not try and get ahead of the regression. Let's go ahead and let's not be betting a bunch of overs just because the books may move stuff down. Let's not jump. And then we got rocked by a bunch of, I absolutely bet a bunch of overs and got absolutely destroyed. It has been a rough week for your boy. I have had a rough time betting the NBA. I'm not going to go over the beats. Nobody wants to hear about it. I get it. I'm just going to say I was a Wolves +6 backer. I may never recover from Wolves +6 last night. May literally just never recover from that one. As we head into this Wednesday slate, the numbers are still lower and we're still seeing unders hit at a pretty high rate. Where are you at in terms of the totals and the general trends for the season, as some teams seem to be starting to kind of thaw a little bit, but the overall trends are still low?
I mean, honestly, I've kind of had to take a step back from totals right now just because these unders are just hitting at such an absurd rate. It's like when you go through, and right now unders are 95, 56, and just hitting 62% of the time. And then when you look at the non-overtime games, they're hitting 65.5% of the time. So it's like that's telling you that there's something going on. Obviously, right now, offensive ratings are like the lowest we've seen since probably, like 2017, 2018. And I know, obviously, teams, they start off slow to start the year, but it could be something with the ball. It could be something with the free throws. It's just these games aren't going over. So I'm kind of reluctant to actually go over on a ton of games. I know one of the trends that I was looking at the other day was I saw an article with the Atlanta Hawks saying that they wanted to push the pace. And since then, they've actually they went over in their game against the Phoenix Suns. And then I think they played the Golden State Warriors last night. And I believe that game went over too. So I try to look at what the individual teams do in terms of their strategy, but I'm not going over on a ton of games right now.
4-2, 4-3, 4-5 last night. Unders went 5-4 last night in the NBA. We're recording this on Tuesday. On Monday, unders went 5-4. So we're starting to see, I think, a little bit of regression. Like, I'm getting hit with stuff like the Bulls had a 42-point fourth quarter. Just like that game was a slog, and I already had put in my mind, I was like, oh, it's a win, and then the Bulls put up 42 in the fourth. This is one of the problems, I think, with the totals. I'll say this, like, if we want to get into kind of a more analytical approach, when these totals are are sub 210, if one team has just a good shooting quarter, you're dead in the water, right? But they're not guaranteed to, because the overall trend, I think, still bends to the under. Right? We're still seeing shooting regression across the league, but one bad quarter and your total can get nuked. Now, like that game last night, I had specifically the Bulls under, and that's where I got hit because the under still hit 216 in that game. Like that's a good example where I could tell myself that I was on the right side there. That I had the under in the Bulls and on the Bulls team total. But it's like, no. Like just because the under hit because the Bulls defense held up against the Nets. Like I should have just played the under and given myself that wiggle room against the Nets having a bad offensive night. Like I knew the Bulls had been playing good defense. I knew the Nets had been playing good defense. The Nets had one bad quarter. I still would have won if I just bet the under and not try to get cute with it by betting the team total. Like that was my primary mistake there.
I think that's a mistake a lot of people make. A lot of like there's a mistake a lot of people make because it's just like I see it all the time where people will like a full game under and then maybe they might go under for the first half or they'll just isolate the wrong thing. So it's just like a lot of times I'll try to hit, like if I really like something, I'll try to hit all of them. But I like a lot of times I like to let the variance of a full game just play out and just play the full game and see what happens.
Right. All right. Let's go ahead and let's break into the Wednesday slate. So when we look at Wednesday slate, we got the numbers out early. I will say like my change in approach is I'm getting great closing line value. I'm winning the closing line value battle, which I can feel good about, right? Not helping me win the actual bets though. Let's go ahead and get into Wednesday. What do you think? What's your first best bet for Wednesday?
I'm going with the Miami Heat -4.5. We've already seen this line move up from 4 to 4.5, actually from 3 to 4.5. I wish I had gotten a 3, but my model makes this game 6. And it's just when I look at this Lakers team, they're really struggling. And obviously, when you don't have LeBron James, there's only so much you can do. They're scoring 111 points per 100 possessions with LeBron James on the court, 103 with him off. And the defense is about the same. But it's just when you have Russell Westbrook right now, he's control of everything. Right now, they have an offense rating of 104 when he's on the court. And they're playing a Miami Heat team. I know they struggled the other day against Denver, who has one of the best defenses in the league. And this team struggled with Charlotte. And when you look at this Lakers team, they're really reliant on an old Carmelo Anthony to do something. And that's concerning for me. So I'm going to go with the Miami Heat here. I got to continue to fade this Lakers team. I had the Charlotte Hornets last night, +2. Ended up losing by +3. But it took a 25-2 run in the third quarter for the Lakers to take control of the game. And then they ended up blowing the game. And then the Hornets had the lead in halftime. So I'm going to Heat.
Yeah, Miami probably going to be without Markieff Morris either for injury or suspension. I don't know if that moves the line either way for you. Boy, yeah. I mean, I've got it just as high. I think in terms of where this is at. I think it's interesting to look. Miami's half-court defense half-court offense has been rough. Like that I think is one of the concerns here is that the half-court I watched them last night in Denver before the ruckus at Ball Arena, and their half-court offense is very much like a lot of times it devolves into Jimmy Butler, please do something. Tyler Hero, please do something. But I don't know that the Lakers defensively have the gear right now. Like they're winning games a lot with offense, right? Like it's mellow and those kind of angles. Where do you see like the biggest edge here for Miami in terms of a matchup standpoint?
From a matchup standpoint, I mean, look, I think they're going to be able to score in the paint, even with Anthony Davis out there. When you look at the Lakers are 18th in scoring accuracy at the rim. I think they're going to be able to score from 3. On non-corner threes, the Lakers are 17th. On all threes, they're 17th, giving up 34%. Honestly, I think the Heat are going to be able to score. Like, they're going to be able to find ways to score any way they want in this matchup. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, it's just, we saw the Charlotte Hornets last night kind of just, they were just neck and neck. When you look at Terry Rozier, he got to the paint at will. So I'm expecting Jimmy Butler to be able to do the same. Kyle Lowry's going to be able to push the pace. So I just think this line is too low. And I think they're getting respect because they're the Lakers.
goes. All right, Raheem. So you think the number is just too low? I like that one. I can't really argue with fading the Lakers right now, given how rough that they've looked, especially with the Russell Westbrook minutes. All right, let's go to what's your second bet of the night?
I'm going to go with the Toronto Raptors +2. This line's actually getting steamed down. I make this line a pick 'em. I'm not high on this Celtics team at all, and I like the fact that the Raptors just have so much length, and they got Pascal Siakam back. I think a lot of people played them the other day against Brooklyn. Obviously, we saw Scotty Barnes. He played some tremendous defense on Kevin Durant and James Harden. And I think he'll be able to do the same with Jason Tatum. And then obviously there's no Jaylen Brown out there, which makes things a lot easier for them. To me, this is just kind of a numbers play. I just think at a pick 'em, it's a good value. And then when you look at the Celtics, they have really struggled at home. I don't know what it is, but since last year, this team is 2-7 straight up at home. They're 0-3 this year at home. They've lost by an average margin of 18.3 points per game. Obviously, the Raptors gave this team trouble in one of their first home games of the season. And I think they're going to give them trouble here. Again, I think this Raptors team is just a feisty team. And you have a Celtics team that really, they just can't score consistently. And like you see them right now, they're 18th in offensive rating, scoring 106 points per 100 possessions. I don't think they've turned the corner. And I'm going to run with the Raptors in this one.
Okay. So I can't bet the Raptors. Like I just cannot do it. Like I'm very confused about who this team is. I'm trying to like get a sense for it. Like I like them a lot on Sunday versus the Nets, and the Nets have wound up just like blowing them out. Right. Like they lost by 13 in that one. I thought there was great value on them in that spot. They hung in that game and then they just like lost it. They're on a 2-game losing streak after winning 5 in a row. Before that, they lost 3 of their first 4. So like, look at this for the Raptors of the season. They lose 3 of their first 4, including losses to Dallas, who we don't think is that good. Chicago, who's pretty good. They split with Washington, essentially. But anyway, they go 3 of 4, and then they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They beat the Knicks. They beat the Wizards. They beat the Pacers. They beat the Magic. All right, whatever. That one was actually kind of close. It was a 1-point win. And then they like trounced the Pacers, right? So they've got 2 wins versus the Pacers. I don't know what to make. I do not know what to make of them. And then you get on the same end, you get the Celtics, right? Where they look terrible. They look like everything is falling apart. They have that massive collapse versus Chicago. They turn around, they get a win. They blow out the Heat. They lose a close one to Dallas. Like, I don't know what to make of these two teams. I have no idea what to make of these two teams. Do you feel like you have a better handle on who Toronto is?
I think I have a better handle on who Boston is. And okay. I think one of the things, too, is how can I say this? You would see the perception of Toronto would be completely different had they closed out that game against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Like, they were up double digits in that game. And they had, what did they have? They had a 101-96 lead with 1 minute to go before blowing. So if they close out that game, you're coming into this game saying, look, they lost to the Brooklyn Nets. James Harden, Kevin Durant. What's the shame in that? So without blowing that lead, they've won 6 straight before losing to the Nets. And I think that's the one thing that's Pythagorean expectation is good for, is that it shows us those games where you see maybe they should have won that. Like the Raptors are 6-5, but they have an expectation of 7-4. So that's 9th among NBA teams. So that's a game that they probably should have won. And I just think this line, I think at a pick 'em, I gotta take the Raptors. I just think I don't know if the Celtics in this state without Jaylen Brown deserves to be a 2-point favorite, even with home court advantage.
Non-garbage time included, the Raptors on cleaning the glass are actually at 0.0 for expected rate. So a lot of their bump up is based off of their performance in garbage time. You played what they had in collapse versus the Cavaliers. The Celtics had a 19-point lead on the Bulls.
That's true.
If they don't collapse, then it's like, okay, they beat the Bulls, they beat the Heat, they had a close loss on the road versus Dallas, and we're
But
looking at Boston.
Even that close loss on the road against Dallas, they were down double digits in the second half, and they needed to like pull off a comeback. So it's just like so many of their games you're watching. The Washington Wizards, the second game when they lost a double overtime game, they're down double digits in that game, and they need to come back multiple times to take it into overtime.
Yeah.
Their opening game loss against the Knicks, they're down double digits and need. So it's just like they need all of these prolific type comebacks just to make it close. Even their win against the Hornets, they were down 10 with 4 minutes to go. So it's just, to me, I'm seeing this team who is consistently down double digits in every single game, and I just don't think this is a good team. So I'm gonna keep fading.
I'm not going to play it. I'll say that my numbers, which are not as nearly as good as yours, and I've said that repeatedly, like my model suspect, but like I've actually got the Celtics as a small favorite because the Raptors grade out really poorly, based off of like everything that I try and like hone in on and really focus on. Like the Raptors do not look impressive. Like there's nothing really that you look at with the Raptors and go like, ooh, like they're 23rd in half court offense, 18th in half court in half court or transition offense. They're 17th in half court defense. Like here's the thing. Every single time, like a week ago, I was like, okay, I guess I was just wrong. The Raptors are just good. And then they have this 2-game set versus the Cavs and the Nets. And I get that, like, I don't necessarily look at that Nets game and just go like, well, it's the Nets. Like they lost to a really good team. Did they? Like, yeah. The Nets got blown out by Chicago. Like, I don't know how good, like Brooklyn skated by Detroit on our bet stream last Friday. I don't know how good Brooklyn is. So like I will say I can't get a feel for it. So I'm not going to play it. I can't go with you because I'm just I am basically abstaining from the Raptors right now. I am fasting against betting the Raptors right now in either direction.
That's totally fair. I think it's a one possession game either way, but it would not surprise me if the Raptors went out there and blew them out tomorrow. Like it just, I mean, they're on a road trip. This is the start of the road trip, and I like that's one of the things that I like to do is that when I see a team at the start of a road trip, I know they got to set the tone, especially after a couple of losses. And like I know Miami, they're just starting a West Coast road trip. They lost to the Nuggets, but I think this is a get right. That was a get right spot for Miami, and I think this is a get right spot for the
Raptors. Toronto's 5-6, even with all like 5-6 to the under, like 6-5 to the under rather, and Boston is 5-4-1. Even with the like offensive truncation, you have two teams that have struggled defensively. I know you're trying to stay away from the totals because of what we talked about earlier. I do have this at a 214, about 215 versus a 209.5 early line. Like I think I may wind up betting the over on this. I don't necessarily know that these two teams are well built to stop one another.
I think the thing that I'm struggling with is they opened this total at 212. My model makes it 212 as well, and it got pounded down.
And so got beat down to the under.
And I think this is the problem with a lot of these overnights is that I haven't had much time to think about this. I've had probably an hour and a half max to think about this. And in the morning, we'll actually get the specific lineups. We'll have a little bit more data to be able to make a decision. And like sometimes with these overnights, I don't know the intention of the market. I don't know if somebody's just pounding this down, knowing that in the morning they want to hit the other side. So it's just like, I think, so it's just like some of these line moves, you just don't know. So it's just like, I try to, typically when I'm betting in the morning, and then I'm coming back later on in the day as I get more injury news. But right now, there's just not a lot of information. Like we don't even have the lineups for everybody. We don't know who's going to play and who's not going to play right now.
All right. What's your third best bet for Wednesday?
We're going to go. I mean, I'm just going to go with two for right now, but this is one that's the market's actually not open on this, but I think this is one that I really, really, really feel strong about. When it finally opens, I've been playing this angle all year long. I'm going to go with the Knicks second quarter. Look, the Knicks are 8-2-1 in the second quarter this year. Woo. I've been playing them pretty much every single night. I played them the other night against the Philadelphia 76ers because obviously Joel Embiid's out, Tobias Harris is out, and they're playing a shortened rotation. Now, when you look at who the Knicks are playing tomorrow, they're playing the Milwaukee Bucks. They're laying 2.5. This line got pounded up from 1.5 up to 2.5. The Milwaukee Bucks are on the front end of a back-to-back. They're playing the Philadelphia 76ers tonight. So you kind of got to expect Milwaukee to go out there. I think they're 6.5, 7-point favorites. They're going to go out there and put their best effort forward, and they should be able to win this game tonight against the Sixers. But tomorrow, they still don't have Chris Middleton. They still don't have Brook Lopez. Neither one of those guys are playing. So you have a shortened bench against this Knicks bench, which is probably the best bench in the league. And as you saw the other night, Friday night, this is something I gave out on the Action app as well. Knicks second quarter, they're going to be lined up against this Bucks team. And we all know, if you look at some of the rotations, Giannis doesn't play a ton of minutes in the second quarter. So he'll play like the whole first quarter, and then he may play a little bit at the start of the second quarter, and then he sits until about the end of the quarter. And in that time, we saw on Friday night, the Bucks had a double-digit lead, and by halftime, it was down to 6 because the Knicks were able to capitalize on that second unit. So I think that's another spot that I want to isolate here. That line might be probably a -0.5 point -1, but that's probably my strongest play. I really like the Knicks second quarter.
Do you feel like there's better value on it now or live?
It's actually not.
Or are you going to hit both?
I think I like to take it before, and then I think you can kind of adjust in game. I think sometimes you get lucky. So like Friday night, I think I gave it out on Twitter, and when I gave it out, the Bucks went on such a huge run. And typically when a team is up in the first quarter, the team that's down is going to be, they're probably going to be favored for the second quarter. So you knew the Knicks were going to make it a game. On Monday night, I think I gave out the same play against the Sixers, and the Knicks had a lead, but it was just like the Sixers bench was just so bad that it didn't even really matter. The Sixers weren't going to make a comeback. So I'm going to take it beforehand, and then I think you should be fine.
Lopez is out tonight. Middleton's still out. He's been out almost a week now. Mm-hmm. So like there's a possibility that if Middleton's feeling better, he could return tomorrow. That'd be a week out for his
I thought it had to be 10 days.
Is it 10?
Yeah, I thought it was 10
7
days.
if you're vaxxed.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. All right, yeah, because I got a report. He said he was out indefinitely. I think obviously
he may be good to go. I will just ask like that question, like does the Bucks injury report change at all for you, that play?
Oh yeah, without it. I think if Middleton's playing, I kind of want to stay away from that. But this is isolating those non-Middleton, non-Giannis minutes, which non-Brook, non-Brook. Like you're missing 3 different guys. I think that's too much to overcome.
Yep. Okay. Great slate. I like it. So we've got Knicks second quarter. We've got Heat on the road, -4.5. And you've got Raptors +2 on the road versus the Celtics. That's your best bets for Wednesday. I will throw one in because I like to throw one in on the show. And I will tell you that my favorite play of the night is the Hornets Grizzlies over. It's 227.5. I get that number seems extremely high based off of where we're at with totals, etc. Hornets are at the end of a road trip. I get that as well. But Hornets are on 3 and 4. I still think that if anything slips, it's going to be the defense. These are 2 of the worst defenses in the NBA. Like these are 2 of the worst defenses in the National Basketball Association. I have this number north of 230. So I really like the over. Grizzlies Wolves sailed over, and the Wolves haven't been able to score. The Wolves put up a healthy number. Like I think that there's a good chance that this one winds up being the rare exception to what we've seen in the trends. Grizzlies and Hornets, I think, are 2 teams that have a lot of offensive firepower, can't get stops. Charlotte is the best over team in the league at 9-3. Memphis is at 5-5. So I like the over on Memphis, Charlotte, even at 227.5. Am I dancing with fire there with too high of a total?
My line makes this close to 240. So I agree with you. And I mean, obviously, these are literally the two worst defenses in the league. And so, I mean, both of these teams have a top 10 offense. So I agree with you 100%. I'm just going to be I'm kind of treading lightly on these totals. So I'm with you. One thing I will say is that I do put out a Wednesday full slate breakdown. So if I change my mind on some of these and I decide, to reverse course, I'll let you guys know in the full slate breakdown. But I'll be breaking down all my plays for the full slate on Action Network tomorrow. And I'll also be posting my model. So you'll be able to see the numbers where I have them at.
All right, if you're listening to this and you want to catch these ones a little bit fresher, if you're listening to this on the podcast, make sure to check us out on YouTube. We're streaming these every Wednesday or Tuesday, every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern on our YouTube channel on Action Network. Make sure to download the Action Network app. Follow Raheem in that app. Make sure to rate, review, subscribe. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys again next time on Buck